So I just want to talk a bit about my day yesterday. As a lot of my followers know, I have gotten a job as a phlebotomist at the local hospital, and they sometimes send me to other hospitals around the area. Well, yesterday they sent me to a hospital that was about an hour and 40 minutes away. So I had to get up really early because I had to be at this hospital in a time before my regular hospital opens. So I had to be there for 7 o'clock. So I was up at 4 getting ready. And as grade 769 and Mark can tell you, I'm stunned in the morning. Like, I'm hardly functional if I don't have enough sleep. So I'm getting up out of bed, I'm stumbling around, and the cats are there. And the cats are really super excited because I'm up early, and that means that they can have their cat kibble early. Now, I don't feed my cats commercial food. It's the worst thing you can give them. But cat kibble is so addictive to cats that when you put them on the raw food, some of the cats just can't get over their kibble addiction. And my cats are like little drug addicts. They have to have their cat kibble in the morning. They get one handful, and my hands aren't that big. They get one handful of cat kibble. The crow gets a couple little kibbles. The dog gets a couple little kibbles thrown in the air and land on the floor in random places so that she can harness her beagle instinct to track and find things, because that's what beagles need. Anyway, I was reaching down into the cupboard. Now, I should say that I had my hair in a one long braid, and when I bent over, I thought that my braid was coming up and hitting me in the back of the head. I felt something on my head, and I went like this. I didn't feel nothing. I thought it was my braid. I take the cat kibble, and I lean over to the freezer. Now, I should say that Checkers was flitting around by the cupboard doors, and it was a little harder to get him up on the freezer than usual. Anyway, I'm bending over to put the cat kibble on the freezer, and I feel something digging in my hair. So I put my hand up, and I feel something, and then there's these little tiny feet like clawing at me, and I take it and I squeal like a girl, and I throw this thing. It was a mouse. I don't know where it landed. And grade 769 says, "What was that?" And I said, "It was a mouse. There was a mouse in my hair. Where did I get a mouse in my hair?" His theory is that Checkers flitting around by the cupboard, he picked up a mouse, and when he jumped up on the freezer, he dropped it on my head. Now, I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that is what the cat did, because Checkers is a little asshole. I wouldn't put it past him to do something like that. Anyway, the mouse, I've moved something on the table, and the mouse was laying stretched out on his belly on the table, covered in dried dog drool. So at some point, Callie must have had this little creature in her mouth, and he was like encrusted in dog drool. Anyway, he was just relaxing, taking a little break, hiding from the cats. And then he just scurries across the table and leaps off and runs off, who knows where. And I point at it and I say to the cat, "There's the mouse." And he just doesn't care. They don't care. They're the world's worst mousers. Anyway, that was the first incident of the day. So I get in the car and I'm driving along. And there's a lot of maniacs out that early in the morning, because a lot of people who live out where I am, they work in the city, so that's like a 3-hour drive for them. They're driving like maniacs. They just don't care. Like, they speed and they'll tailgate you and they'll like flash their high beams, and they just do ridiculous stuff. Anyway, I drive like a little old granny most of the time, unless I'm in a hurry, but then, like, I don't drive like a maniac. Anyway, I was going along, and I've hit a certain spot on the road where there's a little bit of a dip, and I see a porcupine in that dip when I come out of the other side, and I'm like, oh no, there's a porcupine. And the little porcupine is on the, just on the yellow line, and he's just crossing over, and he's facing out the other way, so he's walking right through my lane, and I look up, I see no car coming, I swerve into the other lane, I think I'm clear, and I hear this noise hit the tire. The porcupine had gotten scared, said, "Oh no, there's a car," turned right fast on his heel and got his face in my tire as I was thinking I was safely passing him. So I turned back and I moved the body of this poor little porcupine that I had hit, and I felt so freaking bad because I love porcupines. I have a bumper sticker on the back of my car that says, "Porcupines are your friends." I had this thing custom printed. I love porcupines. They're so cute and they're so cuddly when they're tame. And even the wild porcupines, I've held wild porcupines that were injured to help them, and they're just so docile even when they're in horrible pain. They're the greatest little rodents. Anyway, I had to continue on, and I'm driving along the road, and then I see an owl dead in the middle of the road. But this owl had been obliterated by a large truck of some description. I don't think it was an 18-wheeler just because the damage was not extensive enough to that little corpse, but it was at least something the size of an F-350 or something like that. Like one of those big, obese, ugly 4-door trucks that have like a 3-foot box on the end of them. Like nobody has a use for these big, ugly things. And it was one of the local people who drive to Halifax 3 hours away every day for work. Is like, what kind of fuel economy are these people getting? There's like nothing. Anyway, I pick up this owl, which is not taxidermy quality, but it's an owl, it's a bird of prey. You can't leave those little animals lying around unreported, so into the trunk he or she went. So I didn't make it to work on time, just because I always leave extra early so that I can take care of circumstances like this, as you should as well. So I make it to work, and the lady that works at this hospital, she was working by herself that day if I wasn't going to be there. So it's a very, very busy clinic. There's one day I was down there, we had like 70 some people or something like that, and that's a mid-range day for them. So there's a lot of people coming through that clinic, and when you only got 2 people, you have one out in the collection and one in the lab, and we kind of like alternate. We worked really well that day. So she come in and she was asking me, "Oh, how was your drive up?" And it's like, I hit a porcupine and I found a dead owl. Not really my most favorite things. I do love roadkill when I find them and there's a great specimen and they're taxidermy quality, and I do all sorts of stuff with them. But I don't really like to see a little animal dead or injured or anything like that. But the owl is now resting in a freezer until I can take her home to the body farm, because I'm at my boyfriend's house and that's where we took care of the owl last night. I said a few things for her and did her little smudge ritual, and I'm assuming it's female. Tried to do an autopsy. There is nothing left. It's like the body was totally squished, like all the organs were jellied. What can I say? It was just a mess. But if you want to see really good anatomy videos, there's some stuff on YouTube by Gunther von Hagen. He does the body worlds. That stuff's really interesting. And anyway, I'm just getting carried away while doing my jewelry here, but I just wanted to say about my crazy, crazy morning drive to work when I was awoken too early in the morning and had a mouse in my hair. That's something everybody does not want in the morning, is to have mice trying to hide from a cat in their hair. So anyway, back to crafting.